This tree right behind you here, see all the leaves on the lawn? Well, guess what? It's fall. That's deciduous. It's going to lose them all. See how they're turning yellow? The reason they're turning yellow is because they're losing their chlorophyll. The chlorophyll's green, and it masks all the other pigments in the leaf. The other pigments there are things like lutein, which is yellow, and then carotenes, which are red and orange. They're always there, but they're masked by the green chlorophyll. Well, before this tree loses its leaves, it's going to withdraw all of those pigments out of the leaf before it drops it. Those pigments are valuable and cost the tree a lot of energy and a lot of minerals. So they pull them out of the leaves and then they drop them. So when they drop them, they're usually kind of brownish or on their way to being brown anyway. They're pulling the chlorophyll out first. So the yellow ones are getting the chlorophyll's out of them. And then lutein, which is the main yellow pigment, is showing. And if it can pull out the lutein, probably the carotenes are next, and it'll start turning orange or red. And then finally brown, if it can get that far. That's why leaves change color in the autumn. This tree here, what's unusual about it? Compared to the other trees. All the leaves are at the top. That's one unusual thing.
All the branches at the top.
Let's talk about branches. Where are the branches? The answer is there are none. And what you're seeing up there, those are leaf stalks. Each one of those massive fan-shaped things is a leaf with a stalk on it. Those are actually petioles or leaf stalks. There are no branches. And at the very top, there's one growth point, it's one bud, and it's growing, and that's it. If there's a lightning strike and it shears the top of this tree off, it's over, it's dead. It cannot grow anymore. It's got one bud. How about this tree here? How many buds does it have? Well, every single leaf you see has a bud underneath it. Plus, every twig has a bud at its tip. Plus, there are buds under the bark everywhere, hidden. How many buds do you think that has? Millions. This has one at the top. It's an unusual tree. Another thing, if I took that tree there and I cut it open, and I looked at the wood is hard, dense, smooth, and I could make a piece of furniture out of it. If I cut this one and look, it's pithy, it's fibrous, it's soft and spongy. It's not wood. It isn't wood like in a regular tree. This is a weird tree. And this is a flowering plant. What's the phylum? Anthophida. And then we had gymnosperms, angiosperms, so this is also an angiosperm, right? We call it that. And then in the flowering plants, we had two major groups within the flowering plants, and they were the monocots and the eudicots. This is a monocot. I listed palms. This is a palm tree. I listed palms under monocots. Monocots are real fibrous like this, but palms are weird. They're just on their own. This is in its own family, the palm family. And palms are, sometimes they're branched, usually they're not. The ones we see. Okay, palms are tropical plants. Most of them are in the tropics. There are a few that make it north and south into the subtropical region. Now technically we're at about latitude 35 degrees, and technically that is the northern limit of a subtropical zone. Does this feel subtropical to you? It actually technically is just on the edge, and we can grow citrus here. We can grow lemons and oranges. We are actually barely subtropical. Why am I telling you all this? Because palms are tropical plants. They cannot take cold weather, and you usually don't find them outside of the tropics. There are very few examples of that. This is a California native. It's our only native palm tree in the state. In fact, it's the only native palm in the western U.S. It's the only one that got far enough north how do I put it? It is able to take the coldness here, whereas other palms cannot. So it's adapted for coldness. It cannot go much further north than this. If you start traveling further north, you're not going to get any more palm trees. It's just too cold. Where is this native to? It's native to basically where Palm Springs is. You know where that is in Southern California? Palm Springs area. That's called the Colorado Desert or the Low Desert. That's where they're from. They grow in the middle of the desert where there's water in the soil year-round. Is that common in the desert? No. There are very few places where there's year-round water in the desert. When you get those places, you get a palm oasis. A palm oasis. So these guys need year-round water. And you'll see like a big population of these palm trees in the middle of the desert. That's where the water is. There aren't many of these. The most famous one is Palm Canyon, which is in Palm Springs. If you go visit Palm Springs, you can go take a hike through Palm Canyon. It's a native oasis and it's a gigantic. Where are the other ones? Well, there's one in Joshua Tree National Park, but that's a phony one. People planted that one. That's not a native original one. If you go further out toward Phoenix, in the middle of the desert, in a place called Desert Center, there's a place called Corn Springs, middle of nowhere. Corn Springs has a small native palm oasis, and there's almost nobody out there. What I'm trying to tell you is they're not common. They are really not common, but they do exist, and it's a native palm. It's the only one in the western U.S. If you go out to Florida, North Carolina, all the way through eastern Texas, there are palmettos there, and there are native palms there. But they're not related to this one, and those are from a different part of Mexico. This guy is from western Mexico. Baja, basically, is where it came up from. If you look in Mexico and Baja, there are two other palms that look just pretty much like this. The Mexican fan palm is the other one you're going to see in Stockton. It's taller and skinnier than this one, and it's native to Mexico. And then there's one other, which is pretty rare, and that's the Mexican blue palm, and it's shorter and wider. And there's one at the Hagen Museum, and there's a couple here and there in town. The other ones are all these. This is the California fan palm, F-A-N, fan palm, for those fan-shaped leaves. Okay. The genus is Washingtonia, named after President Washington. Spell it by spelling the word Washington and put an I-A at the end. Washingtonia is the genus. The specific epithet is filifera, F-I-L-I-F-E-R-A. F-I-L-I-F-E-R-A. Ifera means to bear, to possess something. Philly is threads. It means it bears threads. And that's referring to the fibers coming off of the leaves, which are hard to see. Washingtonia filifera, California fan palm. You see those clusters hanging with the little fruits on them? Well, those are the fruits. You can see those clusters of small fruits. We eat some palm fruits. Dates are a good example. And then coconuts. Those are both fruits of palm trees, different species. Both, well, date palm is subtropical. Coconut is fully tropical. We grow date palms in California. It's a big industry in Southern California. Does anyone know the town which is the date capital of the United States? Any SoCal people here? What? Little Rock. What part of California?
It's down on the way to San Francisco. Or no, on the way to Victorville.
Oh, I know where you're talking. Highway 138. No.
I don't know.
That's next to Pear Blossom.
Yeah, it's on the highway.
That's right. That's right. No, you gotta go further south. Indio, California is where they grow dates. And if you're a SoCal person, if we're from the desert areas, you may have heard of Hadley's. Hadley's is a big farm and it's a big, I don't know what it is. It's a store, it's a shop. And you can go there, and this is on the 10 in the Banning Pass, right before you get to Palm Springs, and you can get date shakes there. Kind of scratchy as they go down. They're okay.